Welcome to week 3, everyone. I can't believe, gosh, we're in week 3 already. It's just pace of this class always goes so fast. I hope you're enjoying yourself so far. I know there was a lot going on last week, so I appreciate everyone who dove in and got that done. I know a couple of you emailed me that you were, a bit behind on things, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. That you let me know what was going on. We can work things out and, just keep plugging away. This week is a heavy lecture week as well. So these first couple weeks are really heavy with lecture material. And then we get to kind of free up our writing a bit and less lecture, more writing in the next several weeks after this. This week we have quite a bit going on where we have reading and lecture, we have an Artist of the Week Q&A, we have a short formal analysis paper, and we have a quiz. And before we're supposed to have a discussion board as well. I took that out this week. You're welcome. Because I want you to focus on that formal analysis paper. I want those to be really strong. So pulling one of those things out, I think will really help free up your schedule a little bit to really plug away at that formal analysis paper. So we're talking about mediums and methods this week. So in your reading, you're going to be reading chapter 4, The Artist at Work, Conventions and Training. And we're going to talk about, painting, sculpture, all the different types of artwork this week. And, we'll talk about printmaking. We'll talk about photography and early film and just kind of setting up a very, very basic groundwork and broad groundwork for this whole, world of mediums of art. And so I've got a lecture for you. Make sure you download those slides and follow along. There are lots of good video clips this week for you to engage with. So carve out a couple of hours to sit and go through all this lecture material. Again, big list of vocab this week. But again, remember that when you're going through vocab and you're doing your quiz, you can open your quiz in a different window. You can refer back to your slides, your reading, all of that. So quizzes really are kind of there in place to make sure that you are understanding these concepts. And that's why I want you to be able to refer back to your lecture. And that way I know when I go back, because I do, every week I go and look at the statistics for the quizzes and I see if there's any questions where a large percentage of students are getting the answer wrong. And this week was good. Everyone, we were pretty all on track this week, which makes me, think that, okay, lecture material last week was relatively well understood. So I will always go back over things if I notice that there's a major problem or disconnect, and the quizzes is my way of evidencing that. Okay, Artist of the Week, we're talking about Mr. Pablo Picasso, one of the most iconic artists of the 20th century. And this is a great documentary because I think it really shows you how iconic and influential he has been on modern culture. And just, the breakthroughs he had, his life from a child. He was a child prodigy and lived and worked into his early 90s. So the guy has a very prolific oeuvre of work, the body of work that he's created. So these are the questions I'd like you to answer this week. And again, remember, these are not essay questions. I'm not looking for huge paragraphs. I'm looking for a solid 2-3 sentences per answer, okay? So I don't want you to say, refer back and be like, oh gosh, there was so much work in this class. Well, I want you to get that work done in appropriate lengths where needed. So give the appropriate amount of time and energy into this. And, you'd really want to milk that writing in your formal analysis papers, for example. So again, just 2 to 3 sentences in length for each of these answers. So number 1, what was something you learned about Picasso that you did not know before? I guarantee you there will be something. Number 2, how has Picasso changed the way we think about art in the contemporary world? And number 3, what method of art making Picasso experimented with is your favorite and why? I like these because I'm engaging you with the material, but I'm also asking for your opinion. So these are great places to share your opinion, where when we're doing a formal analysis paper, for example, we're not looking at opinion here. We're doing some analyzing. We're kind of looking for the facts, okay? So art isn't all just about opinion. I like it. It's pretty. It's ugly. I hate it, right? It's about looking at the tools in the artist toolbox, as we've been talking a lot about, and trying to figure out what they were doing and why they were doing it. That's the job of an art historian. Yes, taste can play into this a lot, But when we're doing formal analysis, we're not necessarily talking about taste as much. So you are to choose one of the three options below. I've given you three iconic paintings to choose from, and we're doing a 2 to 3 page formal analysis. So when I say 2 to 3 pages, I mean 2 to 3 pages of text, not, starting halfway down a page when you're formatting and counting that as a full page. I'm wanting 2 to 3 good pages of actual text here. A formal analysis is quite simply an analysis of the forms utilized in the work of art. Excuse me. It is a close inspection of the artist's use of aspects such as color, shape, line, mass, and space. So all the things we went over last week. We are simply pulling back the curtain and looking at the tools in the artist's toolbox. So you will be required to use a minimum of 10 formal elements of design. So this is found in lecture material over the last 2 weeks. So weeks 2 and 3, you're going to pull from all that vocabulary list, and you're going to make sure you use 10 unique formal elements of design. Don't give me shadow and chiaroscuro. Can you see why? That would kind of be redundant. I want them to be unique observations. This paper is not based on opinion, but on observable truths. Do not conduct any outside research. You don't need to for this paper. You may briefly talk about themes present in the artwork, but only as to how those themes are communicated through elements of design. So be sure to consider how the viewer may have a specific emotional response to the work because of the way the artist has composed it. So for example, how lights and shadows can affect the mood. So your papers need to be have a title page, be formatted to either MLA or APA style guides. I don't care which one you use. Use whichever you're more comfortable and confident with. Just pick one and stay consistent throughout your paper. Please title the paper using the title of the artwork you chose to analyze. And this assignment is submitted as a safe assign, so it will be scanned for plagiarism, so don't do it. It's not worth it. I just want you guys to start using those observations. So everything we've been doing last week in those deconstructions, which I will be grading, I will have your week 2 work back to you by Friday at the latest this week. So be looking for those, and that may be helpful in doing your formal analysis because you've already started to do that, right? So we have Da Vinci's Virgin and Child with Saint Anne. So biblical story here going on, Renaissance piece. I can tell you that you're going to want to look at color. You're going to want to look at atmosphere, perspective. You're going to want to look at balance, all of these types of things going on here. Pay attention to scale, all of that. Option 2, so kind of the antithesis of Da Vinci, where we're Renaissance, we're high Renaissance here, we're at the height of the Renaissance and what we achieved during that time. And here we have a masterpiece from the modern era, from the modernist era, this is very early in the modernist movement. Actually midway through, if we think about modernism kind of really starting in the 1830s to 1860s, is when we see these ideas kind of really start to come to being. And this is called Le bonheur de vivre, and this means the joy of life. And so this is a very imagined space. These are both imagined spaces, right? Because Da Vinci is not working when Jesus was born. So it's still an imagined space, but there's a sense of realism, a sense of, balance here. And there's a different sense of realism and balance here. It's kind of an emotive space. It's an emotional work of art. And so we're not trying to have perfect scale and perspective and naturalistic color. There are different goals here. And so this is why we're doing formal analysis. So I want you to start looking at that. You may want to go, if you're going to do this one, and just read a little bit about what Matisse was doing here. It might help you in that formal analysis, but you don't necessarily need to include that research in your paper. And option 3, another work of the 20th century, the mid-20th century, Edward Hopper's Nighthawks, again, a very iconic painting. And this is one I really want you to look at, again, the sense of scale, sense of proportion, balance, and what's included and what's not included. And again, think about themes going on here. Who are these people? How are they interacting with each other? I'm trying to give you lots of hints here because this all has to do with, what the artist is trying, the ideas they're trying to communicate. So that's really what I want you to focus on is how these formal elements of design are being used to tell a story and what story are they being used to tell. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have specifically about these three works or just to make sure you're on the right track. Feel free to email me. And you've got your quiz, of course, this week as well. So one sitting, open book, open note, but due Sunday at midnight, formal analysis, Sunday at midnight, Artist of the Week, Sunday at midnight. So 3 items due this week. Lots of lecture material. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Be looking for your week 2 work by Friday and have a fantastic week.